The future isn't linear, and neither is leadership. In a world shaped by AI, global shifts, and climate urgency, leaders can't rely on control or rigid planning alone. Today, leadership is about trust, adaptability, and inspiring a collective action. Here to guide us through a new mindset is Gabriel Weinstein, managing partner at Olivia and VP at DeepL, who transforms organizations through leadership, AI, and innovation. Please, let's welcome Gabriel to the stage.
So, it turns out that some European countries in the Middle Ages draw in its maps an island called Antillia, somewhere in the Atlantic Ocean, close to Portugal and Spain. Legends describe it as a rich land filled with golden kingdoms and hidden cities, ruled by exiled bishops. For decades, sailors were obsessed with them. They tried to reach it every single time they could. They even swore they had glimpsed its shores on the horizon, but never arrived. The maps, instead of taking them into the future, condemned them to failure because they clung to an illusion. Expeditions spent resources, lives, and the hope of chasing an island that never existed. Here we are. So let me ask you something. Have you ever felt you were trusted a map that no longer matches the territory you were navigating? Because I still remember the first time it happened to me. It was a few years ago. I saw a team following every single plan, every single rule, every single KPI, but still failing. Not because they were not smart enough or hardworking. The world around them changed faster than their playbook. The truth is, the world is not the one it used to be. But we are using models that were designed for a much more predictable world. And the future we are entering is anything but predictable. The old playbook no longer works. And when I have this kind of conversation, I always remember the same person. I met him like 10 or 12 years ago at NASA Research Park in California. It was David Rose. And he said that the organizations that were designed in the past to be successful are doomed in the future. Because in the past, we were creating organizations and companies that were robust, scalable, predictable. Now, are those the pillars that we need in the present? Because probably we will need companies that are more agile or flexible or versatile. But how can we dare to challenge the pillars that brought us here, the pillars that made us successful? This situation that happens with organizations also happens with the way we lead them. Nobody ever taught us how to lead. There's no degree at the university. We might have done some negotiation courses or communication seminars, but in the end, we learned from our predecessors. We took the best we could out of our leaders of the past, good things and bad things, and then we mixed it and did something with it. We created our own style. The problem with that is that if there is a paradigm shift between the moment you learn something and the moment you have to apply it, it becomes meaningless. Except we challenge what we've learned. And I know you might not like the way it sounds, but that leadership we learned is like trying to control a river with our own bare hands. And for decades we did that. We tightened structures, we enforced plans, we avoided deviations, and it worked. But in the present, in a world shaped by artificial intelligence, geopolitical disruption, the urgency of climate change, the river is going too fast. And when I have to think on that old-style leadership, usually based on control, the first thing that comes to my mind, it's always the same one. A sergeant or a general giving orders, and the soldiers following without hesitation. And I know we are not sergeants anymore. We can do better than that. We evolved. Now we have one-on-one conversations from time to time. We have feedback sessions every year. But not being sergeants doesn't mean that we are the leaders our companies and our teams need. It was last week, I saw one leader setting up a meeting at 9 a.m. with his team that was working from home, another meeting at 6 p.m. with that same team to make sure they were working from 9 to 6. So even though we are not, and I have tons of those examples, so even though we are not sergeants anymore, if we still cling to control, then innovation dies, people disengage, and companies fall behind. Control is not a solution. It's an illusion. We cannot control people, even less new generations. We cannot control the context, and we cannot control the future. So what do we do? How can we solve it? Because it's not enough with a reskilling process. It's not about evolving. It's about reinventing. It's about transforming. It's about moving from control to possibility. Because if we have the answers, some control at a certain point might still work. But in moments in which we have to face challenges that no one ever faced before, when the common factor is uncertainty, it doesn't work. We have to do something different. And I've seen it working. In none of those cases in which I've seen it working, the DNA of the leadership was about certainty. There's a pattern that repeats itself every time, and it's about three things. Let me tell you about them. Number one, trust. Being a leader today and having a team that doesn't trust you is like being a general without soldiers. We won't have power in moments of uncertainty. We won't have control. We won't have influence. We won't have answers. So, in moments of uncertainty, we need our people to follow us as closer as possible. And those exact same moments of uncertainty, of crisis, when emotions are running high, the teams will only follow the leaders they trust. But the armies don't prepare themselves during war. They do it in peace times. Because we can try to earn trust in the battlefield, but it will need huge, heroic acts. It's much easier to earn trust before the turbulence. But that's the leadership of the past. If I have to think on the leadership of the future, then it won't be an army. It probably will look like a tribe. Because tribe members trust each other. Why do trust each other? Because they share the same values. When the context is uncertain, I don't need uncertainty around me. I have to be sure that I'm safe around my colleagues, my peers, that they will react to the threat in the same way I would do, following the same exact values. That's why organizations design cultures. So people behave in the way they need them to behave to accomplish the strategic goals. So in the end, culture becomes a filter to keep the people that behave the way we want in and rejecting or repelling those people that won't fit. And the leaders are the main references of that culture. So, trust is about that. Second one, purpose. At this point, I assume you all have read, or at least you all have watched Simon Sinek's TED Talk about the Golden Circle, so I assume you all know how important the why is. When I say purpose, I'm not talking about that. I am talking about inspirational vision. I'm talking about the future. And when I say future, I don't mean the 3-year strategic goal. We all know how to do that. Strategic plan. And we all know how to do that. And if not, we all can learn how to do that. And if not, we can ask an AI to do it for us. When I say future, I'm talking about farther than the future we usually try to see. At least 10 years from now. Because, you see, we are human beings. And we all have probably watched Back to the Future. So we think that the future will be just like the present, but with flying cars and floating hoverboards. It's like horses that have the blinkers on, that only looks forward. We think that the future is the continuation of the present. But remember that Emmett Brown told Marty McFly that there are inflection points that break the continuity of time. So the future won't be probably this one. We need to open our perspective, open options, understanding which are the probable futures besides the obvious, right? So if we have 1, 2, 3, 4 futures, then we can understand what might happen. And not only that, we can understand which are the futures that probably will never happen. And in times of uncertainty, understanding which are the probable futures decreases uncertainty in a very deep way. So, if we have that purpose, that North Star, just like any sailor, right? We need stormy or calm the river, we need that North Star. That means that the purpose is shared. And this brings me to the last one, because if the star is there, hello, there it is. So, if the star is there and steady, sooner or later we will reach it. But if the star starts moving and shifting, we will get lost. And this brings me to the last one, just like I mentioned. It was Chef Bezos that once said, we are stubborn on strategy, but flexible on details. Kind of the same thing. We won't negotiate the purpose, it's there. It should be clear, it should be shared, it should be embraced. But we as leaders should have an exploration mindset that allows us to take the best paths as the environment changes. Adaptability doesn't mean to react faster to the unknown. It means to be ready before the change happens. In the pandemics, many companies were digital before it happened. A few of them went to work home overnight, but many of them, for them, it took months, even though they were digital. Adaptability is not about becoming someone else. It's about to be open to new perspectives and bring them in, even though those perspectives are not natural to us. Because we all can change if we don't have any other choice. We can all adapt if the survival instinct kicks in. But when we have to change proactively, that's a different story. And we will be back to this in like 2 minutes, because I want to make this concrete. Because this leadership looks like 3 things you can recognize in your organizations Monday morning. Number 1, brave conversations. It looks like a team willing to say what others avoid, but not in an aggressive way, with courage and care. It's not the same saying, Michael, the report was late, you delayed the team, I trust you can deliver it faster next time. Count on me, I'll help you, tell me what you want, tell me what you need. Than the usual passive-aggressive reaction of, well, seems like we always have to wait on some people to deliver their part. It's not the same. So you can use it as Kim Scott, like with radical candor. You can use Patterson and his colleague theory about crucial conversation. You can mix it with vulnerability of Brené Brown. You can use some of psychological safety from Carol Dweck. I don't care. As soon as we have conversation with courage and care. Not one of them, both of them. Because when we can say things that others don't, that means that we can solve challenges that others can't. Number 2, spaces of trust. It looks like a team in which mistakes are not punished, but used as fuel for learning. It was 2 years ago. We were working for a car company. They were about to launch a new car model until the technical team discovered a failure. Do you know what they did with that? Nothing. Because of fear. The company, in the end, recognized that failure. They stopped the launching. The car was not launched to the market, but it was too late. They had already spent millions during the process. So, not having spaces of trust not only affects innovation, not only affects culture, not only affects engagement, but it impacts directly into your P&L. When you stop innovating, you stop learning, and if you stop learning, I'm sorry, but you become a stupid company. Third one, collective imagination. It looks like teams not only following orders, but also co-creating the future of the organization. We can think on Lego after the crisis and how they decided not to have their management team making every single decision, but opening a few of them to the employees, even a few of them to the community. We can think of NASA and the crowdsourcing challenges. We can think on Hire, the appliances company. It might look as you want, as soon as you have teams not only following orders, but also co-creating the future of the organizations. Because we won't have the answers in an uncertain world. So we need them. And those answers can come from anywhere, even the least expected places. But in order to make this happen, we will need to do some sacrifices. Because we need to change the way we think. We need to change the way we feel about some things. We need to change the way we do things, and we even have to change from time to time our mindset. So how can we do that if since we were born, we have been building these walls of beliefs that shape our behavior? Both enabling beliefs that allow us to act and limiting beliefs that prevent us from acting. Because if I have the courage to face the challenge of trying to remove one of those bricks, it might work. But also, we are at risk of having that wall trembling. And if the wall trembles, it means that it also might collapse. And if the wall collapses, our identity collapses with it. And that's a huge challenge. Embracing this new leadership means that we have to have the courage and the skill of understanding which of those bricks is still supporting our personal purpose and which one is holding us back. Let me finish with a quick story about this. It's about two brothers that grew up with an abusive father. Today, as adults, one of the brothers, is abusive with his own family. And the other is the kindest person you could possibly imagine. And when you ask them why, they have the exact same answer. When you ask the first one, why do you abuse? His answer is, because my father abused me. How could I do anything different? It's all I ever learned. And when you ask the second one, why are you so kind? He has the exact same answer. Because my father abused me. How could I do any harm to the people I love the most after what my dad did to me? So that's what I'm talking about. To have the courage to challenge the walls of the past, to choose a different future. Let's go back to the river one last time. Leadership is not about holding the water back. It's about learning to navigate through it. Even more, it's about inviting others into the boat and paddling together. Leadership is not anymore about certainty. It's about empathy, about vision, about integrity, about moving from control to possibility. Nowadays, we still see leaders that are chasing islands that no longer exist, using maps that are no longer real. When the world around us changes faster than our understanding, Holding the wrong maps not only delay us, it could be fatal. The leadership of the future is not about trusting the maps we know. It's about navigating the unknown with compass, with trust, and with purpose. Because the future is not linear, and neither is leadership. Thank you very much.